Good morning. Welcome back to meetrabbits.org. Thought we'd do a little update on the kindling and deliveries from this week. We were expecting all 3 does to kindle by Thanksgiving. We're past that now, so I thought I'd update you on how that went and how we're going forward. So pretty noisy around here today. We actually have the feller buncher right up close to the house, which is nice because that is opening up. We'll get a lot more light on the house. We'll be able to make a yard there, and that is getting all the trees that could potentially fall on the house out of there. So that's all good things. Little noisy, but I think the rabbits have been pretty used to it. We also have the slasher and the grinder and everything going back there, but they don't seem too perturbed. So how did our kindling go? So unfortunately, our kindling didn't go great. Now, last week I had said I wasn't going to be super disappointed if I had small litters, that I also would not be real surprised if we had some misses, because the fall-offs weren't great, especially on the champagnes, and because we had all of that high heat for a long time this summer, and it went late even into kind of early fall into September. And I hadn't bred anybody because of the move. I hadn't bred anyone. Rose has actually been open for a long time because she was a little underweight when I did do that last breeding at home, and I hadn't bred her with that set. So wouldn't have been surprised if we had some issues with her. I know it looks a little dark in here. I'm just going to mention that. I've got the door closed. It's not as dark as it seems, but because of the noise and all the commotion going on out there, I've got the door closed, which usually this is opened up. We got a lot of sun in here. Also expecting some really cold weather and some, we could potentially have, 6 or 9 inches of snow this week. By the end of the week, they're actually saying negative temps, like -1 or 2 for a low Friday night. So, not concerned about that. We have been dipping down into the 20s, so it will be kind of a quick plunge down into the negatives, but I think these guys are in good shape and ready to handle it. So, how'd we do? Well, we might as well start with Peie. We'll go in order here. So Peie, I had expected to get kits out of Peie, and I didn't get any. Today is day 35, so I will give her the rest of the day, but I expect nothing from her. My rabbits have always been 32 days or under kindling. Usually 30, 31, 32, everyone is, for the most part, and we have another exception there, for the most part is spot on. I've never had anyone go past that. So yes, while some people will say, and it's not untrue, that rabbits can kindle up to 40, some even say 45 days, believe that's really for the bigger breeds like the giants, like the Flemish, but your typical commercial medium weight breeds are going to kindle by day 35, or probably not at all. Not to say they couldn't go 40, but I'm willing to hedge my bets here and just call this a miss at 35. That's kind of always how I've done it, knowing when my rabbits typically kindle. If these were new to me rabbits, I might extend that a little more and give them even a little more time, but they're not. I kind of know their pattern, and I would not expect anyone to all of a sudden start kindling beyond 35 days when they've always kindled at like 31 or 32. So Peie, that first day kind of looked like maybe she had some nesting behavior, maybe she was tufting some hay, but I guess she was just eating and playing around with it. The other sign that tells me that Peie is probably just not bred is this. She's been using the nest box as a litter box. A lot of manure in there. I've been cleaning it out, giving her fresh hay and bedding just in case, but didn't expect that. Now I will say, I have seen her before do both, kindle in the box and poop in the front. So that was another reason that I still was giving her the benefit of the doubt, but I think we're there and we're ready to call it. Again, today is day 35, so I'm gonna give her the day today, but I am not holding my breath, and I truly do not expect to see any kits. So, you know, by the end of the day, I'll be pulling this box, and tomorrow morning I'll come out here earlier, or pretty early, as soon as the sun's up, and expose her to one of the bucks again. I typically always, my pairing is Peony and Sunny and Rose and Toussaint, because then I can keep different lines. In other words, like, then both of their offspring could breed together, and there's no relation, no mixed genetics. Not that line breeding is a horrible thing with rabbits, but this is just where I'm trying to keep them for the time being. However, I could switch that the other way and still kind of have the same thing. Like, there's still no relation, because all 4 of these are unrelated. I think in the genealogy, if you really look back on their pedigree, there may be a great grandparent or a grandparent in there, but that's way too far down the line to worry about it at any rate anyway. So I am toying with the idea of switching them around, and this time doing a Peony Toussaint pairing and a Rose Sunny pairing. So you can see things are a little messy. Kids were up for Thanksgiving, just left yesterday morning. Usually Saturday or Sunday's my cleaning day. I pushed it off till Monday today. One, because I was giving her an extra day with all the material in there, but also to just have the time to spend with the kids. Wasn't a big deal to wait another day. So that's the story with Peony. I actually was surprised, because out of the 2 champagnes, she was the one who got the fall offs first, and she's got absolutely nothing. So what could be going on? These does could be fat. They were open for a long time. You know, I really intend to get into a not overly rigorous breeding schedule after this, but a very consistent one, and one that keeps them breeding at least every 3 months. Really would like to get them down to breeding more towards every 2. Just so that, you know, I can keep them in the best health with and maintaining their mothering instincts. I feel like a lot of that gets lost when they are not consistently producing litters too. Okay, so that was the story with Peony. She surprised me. She had nothing. I'm going to kind of guess that that is a buck sterility issue. Rose. So Rose actually kindled first. I did not expect anything out of Rose. I thought I would get no kits out of her at all. It took days for me to even get a fall off with her. Did finally get some, and I was hoping that was going to come to something, but I was not going to be surprised if she didn't. And the thing with Rose was she kindled on day 29. Now, she's done that to me a few times, kindled days early. Not early enough that I would call it a miscarriage or premature, you know, and it was only 1 kit that she had. And also, par for Rose, she kindled outside the box. I did have plenty of hay in there, just in case, because this has been a pattern with these guys too. I know I've said it before, I need to make a decision and do something about these nest boxes. These larger rabbits don't seem to like them. I believe they're 18-inch boxes, but it's just not enough. So, you know, she had that 1 singleton outside the nest. Frankly, even if she had added in the nest, it probably wasn't going to survive. It was in hay, but, you know, it's tough to keep a singleton alive and warm, especially in the winter. She did have 1. So, and again, I'm kind of going to chalk the number up to probably sterility issues with the buck. But Rose is kind of, not officially, but she's kind of leaning on the chopping block right now. because I've had those issues where she kindles a little early, and when she kindles early, it seems to only be 1 or 2, and they don't make it. Now, I've also had successful litters with Rose, so I'm not going to give up on her yet. And I'm not going to give up on her yet, partially because this is it for my breeding stock right now. And there are no other champagnes in this area, and there's really nothing available from the sites and the the groups I've been on. Not really finding any champagnes available this time of year anyway, and especially not anywhere near me. But we've had some success with Rose. We've had a few issues too, but we've had some success. So all things considered, the relocation, the move, the heat from the bucks, the fact that she's been open for a long time, so she probably has good chance she's got some internal fat in there, and hopefully this took some of it off of her. So my plan is rebreed her right away tomorrow morning with Peony. She's also getting bred back. That kit did not survive. It was cold. It had pooled blood in its nails when I found it. I didn't even try and warm it up because it had clearly black pooled blood in the nails, so there was no point in that. So these two are going to get bred right back. Not even going to wait anymore. I'm just going to try and get them breeding. I have been putting some wheat germ in the pellets for a little vitamin E. I've been putting apple cider vinegar in the water for a little bit of a boost. And I do have these solar lights in here that come on with dark. They have a light sensor setting on them. So basically I've got the panel on the door, so when I open it during the day that charges, and then when I shut it at night they come on. So that gives them a couple hours of extra light to try and prolong the day length. Champagnes as a heritage breed are known to kind of need that extra light and be more sensitive to the shorter day length, so they can be a little less likely to lift in the short days. So then that leaves us with Flory. So Flory actually gave us 3 live kits. She's my Californian. She actually had them outside the nest box too. She had them in a stack of hay that was in here in the cage. She also, I kept putting hay in her box and she would keep taking it out. So again, really obviously doesn't love this nest box. She had the 3. I need to get baby saver wire on here. I had plenty of hay packed in there, and I had one partially through the wire and one on the floor. So that's a priority before anyone kindles again. In another week when I'm expecting these to come out, I'll probably pack in some more hay around there, but also by then hopefully they'll be a little bigger and less likely to fit through those anyway. But so that's on the to-do list. So she did give us the 3. They were all still warm, squirming. They weren't at all comatose. I had activity from all 3 of them when I found them. Took them in anyway, got them good and warmed up. I took the nest box in, set it next to the baseboard just to warm up those nesting materials. And she had some fur pulled, but it wasn't a ton. So I also added in some cotton balls to kind of replace the fur that she didn't give them. So she's our big success story right now. Not much of a success story. Flory's capable of much bigger litters than this, 8, 10. I think I've gotten 11 out of her. But at least we've got the 3. At least we've got something going, and at least we've got her breeding again. Going to say it again, I'm going to chalk up that low number to the bucks. And this is not because I think they're bad bucks or anything. This is because they need to get their pipes cleaned out after that summer where they more than likely went sterile and they're coming out of it. But the best possible thing I can do to get them out of it and get them successfully breeding and throwing better numbers again is to clean those pipes, to keep breeding them as much as I can. So I'm not surprised that actually Flory and Dan were the most successful of the 3 pairings, because the Californians take the heat a little bit better. And you know, he kind of always just is one of them that sort of, I won't say he's not affected, but he comes through it a little better than the Champagnes and in the past the New Zealands when I had the New Zealands. So not holding anything against any of them. Not really holding anything against the does, except Rose. Got my eye on you, you know. She's lucky that I don't have a lot of options. I have nothing coming up behind her. I would like to at least get one doe out of her that could look good and be promising, and hope that her characteristics don't follow in that. And she's lucky that there's not a lot of options around to replace her from stock around here too. So the best thing, you know, it's not going to hurt to keep going in the meantime. Also, hopefully the bucks are bouncing back, are in better shape, better condition. But yeah, so that was it. Not an overly successful fall breed, but gonna get right back at it. Gonna get these two bred tomorrow morning. That will be day 36, and I'm not waiting any longer because I do not believe that there is anything else going to come of this breeding than what we already have. And hopefully breed Flory back. I'll probably be looking to breed her back in 4 to 6 weeks. I'd like to get her bred back by 6 weeks. I won't be able to breed a second along with her. You know, a lot of people, kind of a rule of thumb is if you have more than one doe, breed them in pairs. And that way, if you have an issue, you have someone to foster off another kit to, or some of the kits, like if you have an overly large litter or a mother that's ignoring her kits. Now, frankly, and this is a topic probably to discuss on a different day, but I think there's kind of, to an extent, there's minimal value to that, because if all of your does are producing nice big litters, then, you know, you don't really have a lot of room to foster them off. In this case, obviously I would have. Say like if Rose's kit had survived, I probably would have fostered that off to Flory for 2 reasons. One, because it was a singleton. It was never going to stay warm enough in that nest box on its own. It didn't have any siblings to help share the body heat. So for that reason alone, for warmth, I would have, especially because we are in the winter and it's you know, not brutally cold, but we're getting there too. And the other reason is because, you know, she only had 3. She has plenty of room to nurse more kits than that, but that would have opened Rose up to get bred back right away. So that would have gotten me breeding her back quicker by fostering off that singleton. So yes, there can be some value in that. But when we're going gangbusters, you know, in the past when I've bred 2 or 3 does together and the litters have been successful the way they usually are, fostering, it probably didn't have too many fostering options anyway. But, you know, Flory's a good mom. You know, when I moved those kits into that nest box, she's left them. She went right in, she attended to them. She's been paying attention to them. So I'm not really nervous either about breeding her on her own and not having a foster option down the line. If anything, it probably would have gone the other way. You know, Champagnes to her, not her to a Champagne. So that's where we're at. That is the plan. Gonna keep going. Gonna try and get a good pattern going and see what we can get for kits on the ground and things coming up. And as soon as I can, I think I'll be holding some back to just be some replacements. But that's kind of down the line future thinking, just seeing what we're gonna do. So that's it for today. Thanks for being here. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. And I hope that if you have bred this fall, that your fall breedings went better than mine. But not too discouraged either because of all of those issues that we talked about. So onwards and upwards, and gonna get some cages cleaned out before it snows too hard this week and I can't move my machine, and get everybody freshened up and ready to go, and we'll get hunkered down and ready for the cold and the snow this week. Happy holiday season to everybody. Come on back next time.